Hey, RIOT podcasters. I've got great news.
The great news is
there's another podcast today.
Killing it
Think about this. Think about it. If there wasn't a podcast today, you'd be like, there's no podcast today. Well, the good news is there is a podcast
And then when you see
today.
the notification or if you just click on it, you're like, oh, my goodness, something new today.
This is wonderful.
Thank you for being willing to listen to us today.
Thank you for being a friend.
Downloading the podcast and back again.
Your heart is true. And we're going to stop right now. Okay, so today in the podcast, let me just minimize this window and we'll take a look. We get a lot of lying in the podcast today. Not from us.
Not from us, but from the news.
From other people that have been doing some lying. We talk about that. We talk about Gobble Novels.
Forgot about Gobble Novels. I like when we talk about something and then there's a term that comes out of it.
Yes.
It's great.
I want more proper nouns in my life.
More gobble, more novels.
Yeah. We talk about me getting sick, closethedoor.org, and my Black Friday problem. It's growing. It's becoming an actual problem. So
Okay, so Gobble Novel is the book thing.
Yeah.
But maybe we need a term for your Black Friday problem.
Fridayitis.
Something. You don't have to do it now. This is their job.
BFP.
This is their problem.
Okay, you guys come up with a name. Oh, you know what the name? No, because people are going to turn it hurtful. They're gonna turn it hurtful. They're gonna be like, yeah, there's a word for it. It's greed. Yeah, there's a word. Yeah, there's a word for it. It's consumerism.
No, okay, that's
yeah,
not
there's
what
a
we're
word for it. It's selfishness.
That's not what we're talking about. We don't want a term that we're familiar with.
We want it to be fun.
Okay.
We want to have a laugh about it, not a deep cut about the condition of our souls.
So if you come up with something that's lighthearted, feel free to text us or email it to us, 877-2RadioU, or email riot@radiou.com. Or as always, RadioU Riot. If you follow us on our Facebook page, you can post it there. Yes?
Just go ahead.
Okay.
Be nice.
Be nice, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Be nice is an invitation to not be nice. You guys know that, right? All right. It's the Riot.
Worst of the Riot, not enough? Not enough? Check the blog and all things Riot at riot.radiou.com.
You guys know the deal that every year it gets harder and harder to find that perfect gift for that perfect person, for that whatever. And you're like, I don't know
what to get somebody.
What to get Nikki this year.
I know. It's hard, guys.
And I know. And she keeps saying well, you could just get me a gift card. And I'm like, you know what? No. I'm out there trying to find the perfect gift.
Perfect gift.
Right. Because, Nikki, the thing is, I want you to know how much I care about you, and I want you to remember me, and in a lot of ways, I want the gift to be about me.
Okay, so do you have a new option right now?
As a matter of fact, I do.
Yesterday, he brought up Trumpy Bear, so let's see what you got today.
Trumpy Bear was a nice one, but this right here, Nikki, this is a one-of-a-kind historical piece for your collection.
Is it a commemorative plate for Star Trek?
No, but would you like one?
Well, you got to eat, so you might as well have something that I can eat on.
Get you like a Mr. Spock plate that you could eat on. That would be so great.
Can I have the bowl? That'd be horrible.
No, Nikki. Star Trek, the original 1960 whatever Star Trek, was the place where
the William Shatner one?
William Shatner. That was the first interracial kiss on television. So Nichelle Nichols, African-American woman, William Shatner, white mutt. Canadian, actually. He kissed her on TV. First time that ever happened. And they were wearing togas when they did this.
Togas?
Yeah, you'd have to see the episode. It makes sense in context. But I want you to know that William Shatner's toga, it's for sale.
Ooh, now I don't want you to spend that much on me. Well, I feel like they think it's going to bring in a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, you know what? That's actually a great question. How much do you think the first interracial kiss toga as worn by William Shatner on Star Trek, how much do you think this is worth?
Oh, now to me, it has no value just because I'm not a fan of the show.
You know what?
I wouldn't even pay for it.
Right now,
but if you're a fan
I just
of the
heard
show,
a few people, their hearts break just like,
how could you? Not even $1?
No value at all?
No value whatsoever.
I mean, you could cut it up and turn it into napkins.
Nope. I feel like you're not supposed to. It has some significance, and if you were a fan of the show,
come on.
maybe a couple $1,000s.
Couple thousand? Okay. All right. It's not bad. They think it's going to bring in between $40,000 and $60,000. Which that seems like, it's not that much.
For a collector.
It is a lot. Exactly. Like when you think about it being this collector's item that somebody somewhere puts it under glass and they're like, look there.
Where the person's like, I'd rather not give this money to my family or my friends or help out anywhere, but I'd like to buy this TV treasure.
There are other items that are coming up in this auction that they say are iconic TV things, including the stalking costume from Dexter. The Batman.
Oh, yes. Doesn't that sound nice?
The Batman and Robin clear bat shield from the ABC TV series, the Riddler jacket from that, and a bag of fake meth from Breaking Bad.
That I think actually might bring in the most.
No, they think about $2,000 on that.
They think, but they could just be wrong. It's however much someone wants to spend on it.
So it's Christmas morning, Nikki, and I give you a bag of fake meth. Are you more upset that it's not real meth or that it's not a gift card?
No, I would just be really confused. It actually looks like these things that Chris with RadioU.
Oh, it does.
He bakes these crystals, not for drugs, but like it's something that goes in one of our pieces of equipment that you have to do. And you have to open up the windows. You got to put them in the oven. You bake the crystals. It looks like a meth thing.
They're dehydrating crystals.
Yes. So it would look like to me at first you gave me a bag of those.
Or
like, why?
Either those or it also kind of looks like the rocks you put on the bottom of an aquarium.
Yes, totally.
And I'd be like
where's
Nikki,
the fish?
There's a fish coming, okay? It couldn't get here in time.
I'd be so excited. Out of the whole entire list, I feel like nothing to me holds enough value to bid on, but they want to try to find a fan.
That's because, Nikki, you don't value things.
Not like that.
You value people.
I do. I feel like it's more important.
And I appreciate that.
Mork and Mindy spaceship egg thing, which is going to be valued between $20,000 and $30,000.
Okay. It's fine. It's fine. And that's great. That's great, guys. You get that egg.
You go bid on that.
You get that egg.
All right, we're going to let you do the work if you want to actually bid on any of those items.
We got you an egg and a toga. Merry Christmas!
I would be having to fake a smile on that morning. I'd be very disappointed.
Eric.
You're going to have to return these.
You're going to have to take these back to the auction house.
Or I'd have to list them somewhere.
Friends by Friends Coke Freestyle Machines. We're all friends, right? It's the Riot on RadioU.
Dan, remember the story about the homeless guy that gave his last $20?
I was just looking at that. So the one who helped the woman who said that she had ran out of gas, and he gave the last $20 so that she could have gas. Then they started a GoFundMe.
So supposedly she and her husband start this GoFundMe. Now, we don't have all the details yet. Now, that story has continued to go on and on. So they raised $400,000 instead of the $10,000 they were trying to raise. They say this money is to get this guy back on his feet and restart his life and whatever.
But then earlier this year, they started saying he wanted the money, never got enough. They said, they gave him some, but he used it on drugs. They couldn't show where the rest of the money went. And they said they found out like they were spending it on their own stuff.
He was suing them, saying, hey, that's my money. You guys need to give me my money. They said that. Like, we gave him some money. He spent it on drugs. They bought him a trailer, which they put on some property that they owned, et cetera, et cetera. Now the story from a local news agency that's been looking into it is saying, hey, in reality, all three of them, like, none of this story is real.
What about the gas in the first place?
Not real.
They're saying that was a scam,
They're saying that's part of the scam.
Wow.
Now,
that's a big scam.
I don't know. But they say the entire story is made up. And all three of them are now being charged with, let's see, what are those? Conspiracy, theft by deception, and some other charges as well.
They said more than 14,000 people donated to the GoFundMe campaign. So they're all in trouble. So
I love this. Whatever, it was a local news channel that was there and they saw it, but like the property was raided yesterday by the police And one of the things that the police seized was a brand new BMW.
Yeah.
That was on the property.
Yeah. To me, they've pretty much shown enough evidence, like the husband and wife had been scamming the money that was supposedly for this guy. But this is the first time that I heard, well, maybe the entire story itself was one big scam.
All of it, they're saying, was not true.
This is why it's so hard. Like, you want to help out because that was a very heartwarming story. It took off. It became a viral sensation. So many people gave so much money.
Yep.
And then you find out, no, it was all made up. None of it's real.
Yep. It's crazy. So that, I'm sure that story will continue to develop. You know what? I always lean back on the thing my mom always taught me about giving for things like this. That, if you're giving, it's up to you. Like, it's on you to decide whether or not you should give. And if they're scamming you, that's on them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
In the moment, if you're like, man, I really need to help this person, then you kind of stay true to that. And then if that person is ripping you off, then they're the one that has to answer for that. So I don't know. And then I guess that's not the deepest thing we've ever said, but that has been the way I've usually run things when it comes to whether or not I give and help somebody.
So basically, I'm just trying, there's a lot of details on this, but one person out of the three appeared in court on traffic charges in September. And then he told a reporter then that the GoFundMe stuff and all of that would become crystal clear soon and that all the details would come out. And apparently that's what that is.
I'll tell you what, Nikki, it's an onion.
You do not want to peel that one back because that's nasty.
They peeled one layer and they just can't stop peeling.
That's too much.
Recycling paper is like planting a tree. Recycling the riot is like burning down the rainforest.
We ain't gonna be in no fire, not today.
It's the worst of the riot on RadioU.
Nikki, it's lying hour here at the Riot where we're just featuring stories about lies.
Okay, step on up.
Actually, I just have one more, and then we'll go on to some real hard-hitting truth.
Hey, the previous story about the scam with the homeless man and the two people and the money raised, that's, to me, even more than a lie.
That's more than a lie?
And scam is not even a strong enough word. I don't know what we need to use instead.
New words.
New words. It was so bad.
Conspiracy?
Maybe, but lying,
still not enough.
Like, to me, that's worse than even lying. And I know it's just lying, but it's too much.
Maybe we don't esteem lying high enough.
True.
Maybe we're just like, we all lie. I lie, you lie, whatever.
This is just next level.
Who hasn't met a homeless man and used him to scam hundreds of thousands of dollars? It's something we all do.
So what else is there?
Okay, Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
He's a director. He is, of course, of certain
genre.
Yeah, and he can be a lightning rod at times for controversy. He made The Hateful Eight. What was that, like 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. That was a Western that came out. And one of the things, I don't know why I remember, because I remember things that aren't important instead of things that are. I remember that Ennio Morricone, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but he is the composer.
Yeah.
He's a famous composer. He did all of these Westerns and all of these movies, and he's an old dude. He's 90. And Quentin Tarantino got him to score The Hateful Eight. And I just remember when that movie was coming out, they made a big deal about the fact that this guy had written the score for that movie. So Playboy Germany, which, we all get that, but they had an interview with this guy. And this made big headlines 2 days ago because in this article, the guy just trash talks Quentin Tarantino hard. Talks about how terrible he was to work with, how I just like on and on and on and on and on.
The word hateful from the movie title?
He was the Hateful Eight.
He hated Quentin Tarantino.
Right, so that was all the big news. Well, guess what broke last night?
Was it all a lie, too?
It was all made up.
It
was all made up.
Who's making this stuff up?
The guy didn't say any of that.
No, he's just covering. Maybe that's it. He's just backtracking.
I don't think so, because here's what happened. Again, the publication that shall not be named, they're like, no, it's all true. And then eventually the writer's like, all right.
He's just completely how do you think someone's not going to find out that you lied?
I don't know. But
see, what's a stronger word than lying?
What's really lying?
Come
lying
on, people.
hard.
That also that changes your perception about Quentin Tarantino. I remember I read that a couple of days ago. I was like, man, he must be really a loser. Like, how mean is he?
How hard is this guy to work with?
And no one really ever gets the follow-up story to correct the first one.
I know.
So most people will just leave it at Quentin Tarantino's a terrible man.
Well, and we're not defending him.
No, I was going to say other people say that anyway. I mean, it's a long line, which is why you believed him.
But it just goes to show you, this is the thing that I feel like we always have to remember, is that we just can't really completely trust what we read, especially online. This guy writes this article. He was a freelancer. He sold that article to the magazine. And of course, how did he get it to sell? Because it was, crazy. Like in this interview, like a lot of people will click this. They'll want to know about this, et cetera, et cetera. And it was all a lie. And let me tell you what, I guarantee you, your internet today, like when you're out there looking at the news, looking at whatever, reading articles, there has got to be an enormous amount of that is straight up not true. Don't you think?
No, I know everybody starts to say, the fake news when it comes to like political stuff. Push that aside. I feel like everything is fake. It's just all made up by people who want to get their break in the article writing world, and they'll do whatever it takes.
I read an article the other day that I thought was interesting.
Was it real?
Well, it was an opinion piece,
okay.
And it was interesting because here was their idea. They were just like, here's what has to happen. We have to have news agencies emerge that we pay. So like I would go and pay them $10 a month or whatever, kind of like a newspaper. But that agency only runs on the money I pay them and not on any advertising. And if you had an agency that ran that way, it would be just about the only kind of a source you could trust.
And you think they would vet it out more or something.
Right.
Huh.
It's an interesting idea. But again, that's where newspapers started, and that worked out. But it did for a while.
Just hard. Again, we say it again. Hard to believe anything.
You're listening to the worst of the riot.
Today sucks.
Radio U.
Yesterday, I had a text that came in that we didn't get to. It was at the end of the show, and it says the following. Dear Obadiah, I've been waiting a very long time to see The Meg. Me and my wife overheard your comments last week about The Meg.
Because you finally saw it.
We both looked at each other and said, it can't be that bad. So yesterday it came to Redbox. The big day is here. It cost me $1.67, and I want every cent back. You were right. It's not good at all.
But I feel like when you were talking about it, you weren't really saying it was that bad.
I actually...
Not quite like to where they were saying it.
I didn't get this person's name, so thank you for texting. I didn't think it was that bad.
It could have been worse, and we've seen worse shark movies.
Okay, let me put it to you this way. It is very bad, but I still enjoyed it. And movies can be like that. It's funny how there are some movies that are just bad. There are some movies that are so bad they're good. And then there are some movies that are bad, but for some reason they remain entertaining.
Yeah.
And that is not the same as so bad it's good. And The Meg for me was in that category. This is a bad movie. I'm not exactly sure why, but for some reason I remain entertained by the proceedings.
Well, you said the look of it, the quality of at least the special effects and stuff wasn't the worst.
I
think that helps out.
They spent like $130 million making that movie.
So Jared just texted, how good is The Meg compared to, say, Deep Blue Sea, which is one of those, it's so bad that it is a good shark movie because it is so bad.
Well, Jared, check this out. Funny that you would bring up Deep Blue Sea. Do you know that back in the mid-90s, The Meg got optioned for a movie? It got bought by, I think, Disney or Touchstone. Disney owns Touchstone, but and they were supposed to make it into a movie. And do you know that it got shelved because of Deep Blue Sea?
Because that made money and that like took the spot, or because that was so bad?
They decided that it was too much like Deep Blue Sea, and that movie had already kind of come out.
So it was shelved that long?
Well, I mean, I'm sure after that it languished in development Hades for quite some time. But
the in-between.
It eventually did make its way back. But do you know who was set to star in it?
No.
Back in the mid-90s? George Clooney.
No way.
George Clooney was going to be the Jason Statham character.
That is so weird.
Yep.
So, Carl, thank you for texting. This is you kind of like the Meg because deep down you know it could be real.
Carl, it is real. There are
megalodon?
There are city-sized sharks that are right now
waiting to come on
wandering the
out.
sea, waiting for me to get in the water.
They're waiting for Jason Statham just to turn his head a little bit and not be noticing, and out they come.
And then what am I going to be? I'm going to be stuck out there with that big shark, and Jason Statham's not going to come and help me. If you watch the movie, do you know what gets Jason Statham to come back? A beautiful, blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman who's stuck under the water. And you're like, no, yep.
That's the
it.
only reason?
He's like, he's not going to help anybody. And they're like, Jane's down there. And he's like, all right, let me get my coat. And I got to tell you guys, I've got blue eyes, but I don't look that good.
You're just not the same.
I'm also not Jason Statham's ex-wife in the movie. So that's why he went and rescued her. And he basically is like, hi. And then they never talk again. She just disappears from the movie.
The Riot was this close from becoming the absolute worst morning show in radio. Yep, they can't even win at losing. It's the worst of the Riot on RadioU.
Hi, Nikki.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great.
You feeling good?
No.
No, you're feeling worse?
It's fine.
Okay. Yeah, a little stuffy nose this morning, so I wasn't sure if that has improved or if it's the same.
I've been drinking out of this Wendy's cup that I got last night. I went to Wendy's and ended up there at a weird time of night and wanted to use their Wi-Fi, which was terrible, but their fries were $1 and my drink was $2.
That was your version of like going to the coffee
cafe,
shop
yep.
for the for the Wi-Fi to work there.
Yeah, so I ended up, the Wi-Fi was so bad, eventually I left, but I basically just wanted to sit there next to the Coke Freestyle machine, drinking weird caffeine-free flavors, getting ready for today's show.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I found as I was standing there in the line that was too deep with the Coke Freestyle machine. And you're like, man, why complain? You're waiting in line behind two people. You have access to a touchscreen 100-plus soda dispersing flavor machine. Like, what is there to complain about? I'll tell you what there is to complain about. I'm a power user, okay?
You got the app.
I know what I'm there for. I know what I'm getting. I know where the soda comes out. I'm watching this lady step up there, and she's just like, I just moved here from the 15th century. You touch it?
Was it that bad?
What sort of strange spirits are responsible for making this evil machine disperse the flavored water?
Well, maybe that was your time to step up and help her.
No, she had a guy with her, and she's like, you put the cup here. So she leans down to look at how the soda comes out, and I'm like, oh, gosh.
It's like when you try to teach your grandparents how to text message or email.
It's like, how can this be?
A double click.
Is there a little man inside there that has a 2-liter that he just pours it in? Is that what it is? Yes, that's what it is. That's how it works. And so I just, in that moment, watching this play out, and I've seen this play out over and over and over again, I feel like they need to do like the TSA thing at the airport. There's the pre-checked line. Okay, so you set up 2 freestyle machines. One is for everybody else, and then one is for people like me.
Power user.
Yeah, you got to scan your app or your card, and it just lets you walk right up, and you make your selections, you get your soda, you walk out. You don't stand there in awe of it. You don't stick your head in it to figure out where it comes out. You don't marvel, like nothing. You're there to get your stuff and go. And, you know, in fairness, everybody probably has that experience the first couple times. Me too. I was excited about it. I couldn't wait to use it. I get it. I totally get it.
But you got over it and learned.
I'm not saying it's wrong, but you know what? You were probably the same way the first time that you flew. And after a while, people that fly all the time are like, all right, I'm glad you're having a good time, but come on. We take our shoes off. It's how it works.
So you're saying that keeps the line to the one freestyle machine long. And you know where they're like, oh, during busy travel holidays, you know, the line will be even longer. Like during the lunchtime.
It's like, man, look, I'm a commuter, okay? I didn't check a bag. It's all in this rollaway. Let's just move it. Come on. Move it.
Soda.
And I feel like we need something like that for the Coke Freestyle machine.
I don't know if they're going to.
A certification process.
of some
Something.
sorts.
Yes.
I'm not sure if they'll do that because then they're going to have to hire people to like police the line and
Fine.
stuff. And
Hey, for what you pay to use a freestyle machine, that should be built in.
it should.
It's like
and then
$2
they
or
can,
$3 for a freaking soda.
Then they can maintain it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because
that'd be
nothing's worse when you go on up and you're ready and it's just out of everything.
out of everything.
Well, I'm sorry it was so difficult.
I mean, like, I'm surviving, but I feel like while I was in there, you know, Nikki, sometimes adversity is that place we all have to go to give birth to creativity.
You got a great idea.
And so as I was standing there, I was like, I have just fixed all the problems.
Take a second line.
There needs to be a second line.
Even though there's always 2 freestyle machines already.
There was a second freestyle machine that was out of everything.
Okay, so then that's their fault again, too.
When life is this good, you don't need a vacation. So get back to work. It's The Riot on Radio U.
So next week for Thanksgiving, I'm basically doing a destination Thanksgiving. I'm just meeting.
You go eat at a restaurant?
Yep, I'm meeting family at a restaurant. We're actually spending the night at a hotel, going to eat, and then coming home, which, you know what? That's great. Like, no, but that means nobody has to work. And the sad part is when you do the math, it actually is just slightly more expensive than actual Thanksgiving.
And you're getting a little mini vacation out of it.
Yeah. So, like, I'm on board. It's great. Yada, yada, yada. How exciting is that? So there's that. But I realized that heading into next week, I'm not in the middle of really reading anything right now. I'm reading a nonfiction book called So Say We All. And it is an oral history of Battlestar Galactica. It's 800 pages.
How can that be?
I
feel like you could take the entire show's history and just write out the dialogue and it would still be less than that.
Well, Nikki, there you go. Like, it's misconceptions like that are the reason why books like this exist.
And I should read it. I don't know.
I love production tales.
Well, see, I
love
thought you were going
hearing
to be
about
like saying it was a motivational book or something like that.
No,
and that's
I
what we
have-
should read.
The other book I'm reading is called The Gifted Adult. So I'm reading that too.
And the Battlestar Galactica one.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not in the middle of any kind of fiction. And so I started thinking to myself, you know, I need a Thanksgiving beach read,
Sure.
even though I'm not going to the beach. And so I need
A turkey
thing.
read.
Yeah.
Aww.
I like that. It's a turkey read. It's a gobbled. Dang it.
Gobble getter.
Get your gobble.
I was trying to think of something
it's a
that
gobbler.
works
We'll call
with-
it a gobbler.
I'm trying to think of something that starts with a B that's around Thanksgiving, but it doesn't work.
I got nothing. So here's what I just wanted to open it up. I'm looking for I do not want something that's going to change my life. I don't want to be enlightened. I don't want to learn. I want something that's going to be like, he did what? That's what I'm looking for.
That's the type of book that you want.
The other option for me is every year at Christmas, I read 2 books. I read a book called 8-Bit Christmas, which I always really enjoy, and I read A Christmas Carol. Christmas is like 40 days away. So, I mean, technically, I could probably go ahead and move into that.
If you wanted to, that'd be good over Thanksgiving.
could.
It's like when you watch part of Home Alone during Thanksgiving.
Oh, I'll probably be watching Home Alone during Thanksgiving.
It's a tradition.
Oh, Tiffany just got it. It's a Gobble Novel.
Tiffany!
Oh, thank you.
Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Oh, Laura did too. Wait, okay, Laura and Tiffany, you
guys
both just
both get
texted.
it.
Is Gobble Novel, did you come up with that on your own, or is that like a section that I don't know about? Like,
Where there's like the handsome pilgrim.
oh, man.
It's
His wife died in the crossing, and he thought, he thinks that he'll never love again.
But they meet at the Rock.
But in the meantime, this school teacher
no.
has fled whatever because her fiance's family, blah blah blah, and she could never love again.
I mean, that's really what you're looking for.
And they both met at Plymouth Rock. They were staring longingly out into the ocean.
Yeah, they put their little initials on the rock.
And then they begin talking to each other. And it's like
A good, respectable distance away, though.
Oh, are you also living in Plymouth? Yeah. Okay.
It's a page turner.
Do you want to go get some coffee together?
Did they have all that?
I don't know.
Whatever was back then.
I don't know what dating looked like in Plymouth, which is why I need the Gobble Novel
You need
to help me.
So let's the suggestions pour in.
Sure.
Oh, my goodness.
It's great. Tiffany said, no, I just thought of that. It's so strange. We must be twins. Tiffany and Laura are twins, and they just moved to a small New England town. So And then they meet two twins in this town who are also looking for love.
It just, again, writes itself.
It's perfect.
So if you have any ideas for the Gobble Novel, please feel free to text it, 877-2RADIO-U, or you can email riot@radiou.com.
Okay.
And someone please search Amazon for what we had just talked about, if there's any books like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like the Amish ones you always see, but it's not.
But it's a pilgrim romance.
It's a pilgrim one.
You know it exists,
I bet
right?
it does.
Like, you know it does.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm not so much mad about what they say. I'm mad that they think any of us want to hear it. It's the worst of the riot on Radio U.
I said that I need a Gobble Novel for next week. A little something to read while I'm on my destination Thanksgiving, which, by the way, sounds like the title of a great romance novel and or Hallmark movie, Destination Thanksgiving.
If it hasn't been done already.
He was a lonely man meeting his family for Thanksgiving. She recently divorced a high-powered attorney who was returning home for the weekend to stay at a renovated B&B.
Yes. Or if not, someone's travel plans get interrupted by some sort of weather thing.
Yeah.
And then they meet that way.
That's how they get stuck at the bed and breakfast. And
by the way, if it was a bread and breakfast.
Bread and breakfast.
That could be the name. Stop with all the good ideas.
That's the name that's the name of our new
B&B,
show.
yes.
Bread and breakfast.
It's everything.
It's everything we need. So where were we? Let's see. Dakota says they found Pilgrims, a Lake Wobegon romance. Nikki, I will tell you, I have been Googling Pilgrim romance and trying to find some Pilgrim romance novels. They're not easy to find.
And we're looking for one that's really, what's the opposite of classy? Trashy?
We are.
No, just me. That's what I think it's supposed to be. A Gobble Novel.
I didn't know that.
We're not really looking for. We're not really looking for them, but that's what I expected to be.
That explains a lot of the search suggestions I got when I was sitting in your chair last week.
Whatever. Whatever.
So, yeah, I was trying to find something, and you guys hit us up with a couple of interesting. A person whose name I do not know says Dark Matter is an excellent sci-fi thriller. Rachel says, I challenge you to read Infinite Jest by Stephen Foster Wallace. Aaron says Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman, a world-hopping adventure.
Trick.
Hey, do you guys know where the Invisible Library is?
Check out the book.
Let's see. Anybody else? Josh says The Life of Pi.
As a joke, I think. A Gobble Novel.
A Gobble Novel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure. That sounds delicious. I'd be completely interested in that. The other thing I found is if you start Googling Pilgrim romance, you just get a lot of Scott Pilgrim stuff.
Oh, from the movie?
Yeah, which is not to say I
You
like.
said that once you watch that again, actually holds up pretty well.
Oh, it's better now than it was then.
Is there a novel version of it?
It was a comic book first.
Yeah, you can read that.
So I could read the graphic novels and be like, look, guys, Scott Pilgrim on Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying?
It's a perfect one.
Know what I'm saying?
I think we found it.
Yeah. And Dakota wanted to know, what books have you read that you recommend for your listeners?
Oh, good idea.
Do you have a suggestion, Nikki? Anything off the top of your head?
Not really.
I don't have. Okay. Boom. I got it. All right. For novels, The Expanse. That's not what it's called. It's called Leviathan's Wake, I believe it's called. It got turned into a TV series on the Sci-Fi Channel called The Expanse. Spectacular novel.
Is it?
It's not what you think it is.
Everything you say to me is always space. Is it space?
It is in space, but it's a very realistic take on what space could be.
Does it have a map in the front of the book? Because, if it has a map in front of the book, I don't like it.
Oh, you don't know the solar system?
No,
there's no map.
Do they put the map so we know what world we're in?
I don't think so.
Okay,
so then, all right, there's that. And then I also read, I don't remember what it was called, but it's the next in those books. Great. I wasn't prepared to answer the question. Eric introduced me to, and they were a trilogy, and then they released a fourth book. I can't remember what it's called. That's every book, by the way. It's a trilogy, and then there's a fourth book.
There's a lot that could match that.
It's Red Faction, Red
Moon,
Red something.
Red Dead.
But it's about it's like gold, red, gold, and like its society is broken down into these levels. I cannot remember what the heck it's called. Red Rising.
There
is
it
the
is.
fourth Red Rising book.
There it is.
And then the other thing I read, if you're looking for something that isn't a beach read but will change your life, I'm telling you guys, there's a book out there. It's called Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. Yeah, I would. If I could, I'd hand that book out to people. Just like, read this. Stop being a jerk. No, that's not in there.
That's the foreword in it.
You should read. I wrote the foreword.
He did, yeah. He will write it in the book literally for you.
Yeah. Dear Nikki, stop being a jerk. Obadiah, what?
You'd rather have a space book then.
Would you now?
If you're going to be that way.
Well, I have some great ones I'd like to recommend to you, Nikki.
Mornings are for coffee and contemplation.
Chief, she's...
Coffee and contemplation.
And the Riot. Obviously. Radio U.
Now, here's a question to see how much you guys are paying attention. This time yesterday,
Yeah.
I told you that at however old I was, and I don't remember how old I was, I started closing the door to my bedroom at night, sleeping with the door closed. Does anybody remember why I slept with my door closed?
Okay,
Anybody?
do they want 1 second to text it in?
Yeah, you can text it in 877-2-RADIO-U.
And I will give you a second because obviously you gotta type that out.
I'll give you a hint. It wasn't for privacy.
Okay.
It wasn't because in fact, I felt a little afraid when I would close my door because I felt like I was completely alone when I was in there with the door shut.
But there was another reason why you always did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you know what? It sounded like almost like I made it up, like I was crazy. JC said a fire. Yes,
You got it. You're
sir.
listening.
Mm-hmm. So they taught us at school that we should have our door closed because if the house caught on fire, the door being closed might save us. Dude, there's a whole nationwide campaign. Thank you, Aaliyah. Also new fire called Close Before You Doze.
Mm-hmm.
And it is all about how you should sleep with your door closed because it can keep the fire out long enough for you to escape.
You were saying when you were really, really young and you did school safety for like tornado, fire, like that sort of those drills that you had learned, depending on which part of the country you're in and what you might experience or for earthquakes. Did they specifically tell you then to always shut your door, or were you because you were always scared from what they were training and teaching you that you felt like you just needed to shut your door?
I can't remember.
Can't remember which came first?
I can't remember. But as a kid, I can tell you a million times closing my door, thinking about the fire, and then being afraid because I was like...
And there was never any fire,
No, there was never a fire. I've never been in a fire or whatever.
It was just what you thought.
Sometimes at night I would close my door and I would be afraid like, but what if there's a fire? I'm not even going to know it because my door is closed.
Sure.
So
then you found online this whole campaign thing.
I did. It's closeyourdoor.org. It is a whole public service announcement thing. They've got videos that will terrify you.
They say you have a better chance if your door is shut.
They do, because they say, like, for example, they've got videos and all this stuff, but like the fire can reach up to 1,000 degrees in the house, like temperature, but with your door closed, it will be 100 degrees in your room. And that is just because the door is keeping the fire at bay.
I always crack my door. Is there a campaign
You're
for
done.
that?
No, you're dead.
I don't like to shut my door all the way.
You're
then
dead,
I feel
Nikki.
like, what's going on outside the door?
I know. So you just need to install some security cameras and have a TV with that feed constantly
and just never
on.
sleep.
Yeah.
Just always be watching what's going on.
Not sleeping is the safest option.
Yes.
Yeah. But you should close your door. Man, it's right there. It's a whole thing. Close before you doze. And there's a video. Oh, gosh, there's a video you can show kids. No!
That'll scare them like
Don't
he was.
show it to them. They'll never sleep again. Laying in bed, like I got the door closed and the window open, because you open the window because if there's a tornado, you want the suction. You don't want it to...
Wait, it'll suck you out then.
No, because it, like, the pressure...
it builds up? You've never been through any of that.
Less pressure outside the house. That means there's more pressure in, so...
There's nothing ever. You're safe. You're fine.
How can I know?
Been fine this entire time.
It's cool. The studio door is closed, everybody. And don't forget to buckle your seatbelts.
Okay, we got everything covered.
Yes.
All right. We're just glad you weren't the only one who, when you found that website.
Closeyourdoor.org. 10,000 people have taken the pledge. It's right here.
Ever grab milk right out of the fridge to pour in your cereal, only to realize that your stupid roommate left an empty carton in the fridge? That emptiness is nothing compared to how you're about to feel. It's the worst of the riot on Radio U.
Okay, look, I don't want to make it about me, but I got to make this about me. I'm terrified of fire. We covered that. Now I got another one. I'm totally serious about this. 2 years ago, when did I have nose surgery?
Was it 2 or at this point 3 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago. I got my deviated septum fixed. Best thing I've ever done. Like, seriously. Total upgrade to my whole life. I can smell things I've never smelled before.
You sleep better.
I sleep better. I breathe better.
You're not sick with your nose all the time.
I'm not. It doesn't mean I never get a sinus infection, but, it's better. But here's what happens now. Of course, I used to get these sinus infections, and my nose would get way stuffy. And that happened all the time and all this stuff. So now, since I've had my deviated septum fixed, I almost never get a runny nose out my nose.
Mm-hmm.
Now I get a runny nose almost always down the back of my throat.
I wonder why that is.
I know I'm not trying to be gross, but because of the drainage, I have a tendency to get very nauseated from it. And there's not much I can do about it. But here's what I want to know. And this is my question. Does that happen to you?
Is that just common?
Well,
I'll get a runny nose if I have a cold, but I mean, yeah, you get drainage that goes down your stomach.
So, but is that like
It makes you nauseous.
That's like your thing. So, like when you get a cold,
yeah,
that's what you get. Like
it comes along with it, which is why I tend to get like it in my lungs pretty quickly.
Okay,
because to me, everything drains down.
Okay, because that is new to me.
Mm-hmm.
It did not used to be like that. In fact, the first time I got sick after the deviated septum, I was like, what is happening? Like, what is going on?
It's normal. Which is why when you're sick, a lot of times you have like the Sprite and the saltine crackers.
So text or call us 877-2-RADIO-U. I'd especially love to hear from somebody who, like me, had the deviated septum fixed and then like have had this change in their experience.
Maybe yours is just more heightened or...
Well, yeah, and the other thing is, like, it's weird. So right now, I'm fairly certain I have a sinus infection. I'm not completely sure, but like I have sinus pressure and I have this drainage, but I do not have a runny nose.
Mm-hmm.
And again, my whole life, a cold has been massive, stuffed up, runny nose. Like it's always been
because
that.
Your deviated septum kept it from running backwards,
That's
so it always
exactly
ran
right.
down out your nose.
So let's see, Aaron in Youngstown, he says, I get sore throats from that issue that Obadiah has. My doctor said it's called postnasal drip. Yes, that's exactly what it's called.
It.
A postnasal drip?
Yeah. Do you get the nose spray or whatever? Then your nose spray stuff's going down your throat.
Well, I have been using a steroidal. Is that the word you'd use for it? Like a steroid
nose spray?
Nose spray for the last few days to try to keep the swelling down.
Isn't that the stuff you can get addictive to?
No, it's not. That's like Afrin.
I don't want to see you have a problem before the holidays.
You can use that for 3 days.
And that's it?
And then they're like, you must stop using it after 3 days.
Okay, just making sure.
It's so funny, but I know these things, guys.
Because you've looked.
I know these things. Like I've been there, done that. Doyle says for the last 20 years, I've always had one nostril that always stays clogged.
Oh, really?
Doyle, you should look into having your deviated septum repaired.
Obie knows a guy.
Like mine was at an angle, so I had one that was way worse than the other. And it's the craziest thing when all of a sudden you're like, wow.
You can breathe through your nose.
Candace, I throw up every time I'm sick. Aww. It's the nausea from the mucus.
This is too real now, guys.
Now, you know what?
It just got medical.
I asked.
I know you did.
I know. All right. Like, I know it's weird, but think about it. Your body's been one way your whole life. Something happens, and now it's totally different. Every time I get sick, I'm like, oh, something's really wrong.
But you don't need to panic. It's not. That's how it's supposed to be.
This isn't right. I got to lay down. I can't be here. You guys don't understand.
It's going into my stomach. I'm nauseous.
It's draining down my throat. That's not supposed to happen.
Now you know that's all that's supposed to happen. Being sick isn't pleasant. You're not going to feel good.
Well, I want time off, but I want to feel good.
Oh, my God.
One of the only things left that isn't owned by Disney. The Riot on Radio U.
So Travelodge, the hotel company, they've put out a list of what they say are the most bizarre customer requests that they received in 2018. So this is like if you ever if you've never booked a hotel, you can certainly do it on the phone, but online, a lot of times, right at the bottom of your booking, there will be a place where if you have
questions or you want to ask for something,
like you can throw things on there. Have you ever put anything in that field?
I have put, I needed an earlier check-in time because they didn't give you any other option. And so I wanted to ask there, and they never got back with me until I landed and I was able to call myself.
Boy, they hate that one.
Well, I know, but
they don't like that.
I ended up getting an early check-in when I called, so they could have done that. But I would assume, like, I want 25 pillows, some weird request like that.
See, I feel the weirdest request, probably the only request I've ever made, I've never done it in advance. I almost always ask for another pillow because I feel like hotels have two modus operandi. They're like, we gave you 400 pillows, or I know that you have two people staying there, but there's a half a pillow.
And that should be enough.
So if each of you sleeps like with your head at an angle, you should be able to, you'll be fine.
Did I just wait to ask that so then I find out? Or if like there's extras in the closet?
Oh, no. Me too. That's what I'm saying is like when I get to the hotel, I never ask in advance, but I almost always end up having to call. Then they bring up a pillow and it's like the guy wants a tip. And I'm like, here's a tip. Put some pillows in this room in advance.
That's not how he is.
It's not how he is?
No, that's not.
Oh, you mean it's not how I am?
How you are. You're just saying that. Well, apparently people are not shy about putting stuff in there.
Okay, well, here's some of the things they receive. Are you able to fly in some beluga caviar from Russia for dinner this evening?
That's not Travel Lodge. That's not Travel Lodge. No one, you're not at Travel Lodge having beluga caviar, unless that's a joke.
Okay, can you make a cat bunk bed available for my two kittens?
Like a cat tower?
I
think that must be what that is.
I can't remember if I turned the alarm on. Can you drive to my house and check?
No, these are jokes.
You think so?
Yes, these are people trying to be funny on the site. Right. Not Travel Lodge maybe, but like being funny by submitting this when they book their hotel.
Mm-hmm. Can you fill my bath with different flavored scoops of ice cream to present as a birthday present to my wife on her 40th birthday?
Well, maybe on that one.
Could you point me to the direction of your on-site library?
Okay.
Can you arrange for it to snow tomorrow for my wedding?
No, these are not.
It's not. They're not good enough.
This is Travel Lodge. Like, hey, Bob, send this out so we can have people talk about us.
I thought the list kind of sucked, but I wanted to know. And you know what? If you guys want to tell me what you've done, text or call 877-2-RADIO-U. It just occurred to me, I've never made basically any kind of a request out of a hotel.
I'm too afraid.
Yeah.
Because then they're going to like spit in your bed and all that stuff.
Sure. I figure they're doing that.
Anyways, I don't want to know what they're doing.
Well, for real, I just want to know because, Nikki, don't take this the wrong way, but you seem like the kind of person that might have a very specific request going to a hotel.
I know some people, like if they have breathing difficulties, they might ask for one of those like filter thingies.
The ozone emitter?
Yeah, like or if someone had smoked or whatever. But I mean, what else is someone going to be asking for?
I don't know, but that's why I wanted to talk about it.
If it was a fancier hotel, I could totally see that. But again, the Travel Lodge, I don't see the caviar request.
I have, in reality, only ever been to one fancy hotel, and that was a gift from some friends, and we went to this place in Pennsylvania, and I'll just tell you, they knew I didn't belong there.
But you could have asked for caviar, and they would have brought it to you.
And they would have been like, oh, sir, that's already in your room.
If you go to a place where they call you sir, then you know it's expensive.
I just walked in like, oh, gosh, they know.
Do I have to eat the caviar?
Dear Radio U, when I was a kid, my parents sent our dog to live on a farm in the country where he could run and play all day. I could ask them for the address if you need somewhere to send the Riot.
It's the worst of the Riot on Radio U.
You know, Nikki, I've been really disappointed. Now I realize that as of today, we're 1 week away from Thanksgiving, which means that we are 1 week away from Black Friday. But I've been going through the Black Friday deals.
Nothing.
I made a little Excel spreadsheet or a Google Docs thing, whatever. So I'm like looking at prices, listing the stuff I want.
You take this way seriously, and that's admirable, but then also
seriously.
shocking.
I know. You know what? It's grown into something that it's funny you say that, because last night I was sitting there looking at something and I was like, you know what, bro? This has grown. This is like, it's not ugly yet, but we're about 1 year from this getting ugly.
Do you feel like you've created
a monster?
This Black Friday thing, and so you have to keep going with it? Do you feel like you hate it now because it can't just be, oh, if I happen to come across a deal, but like you're actively trying to find these deals?
Well, here's what it has grown from. I have gone from 1 year for whatever reason, I just had extra money.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what, bro? Like, you never buy anything on Black Friday for yourself. Here's $50. You
Buy yourself some movies.
You can buy yourself some movies on Black Friday. And I cleaned up in the extreme. For that $50, I probably got like 12 movies or something ridiculous. And then, you know what that was? That was a little dopamine hit.
That was the first baggie?
That was a dopamine hit. And so the next year I was like, all right, now I make it part of my regular budget that I make sure that I have $50 for Black Friday. But then one year for my birthday, it occurred to me, you know what? Instead of buying this movie now for $25, if I wait until Black Friday, it will be like $10.
Uh-huh.
So I'll save $50 and I'll keep some of my birthday money. This year, I bought nothing with my birthday money. That's not true. I bought
Star Trek.
No, that was a gift card though, so that doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now I've got all that money set aside for Black Friday,
Sure.
and I have literally been waiting for 2 months.
Well, I just feel like you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. What if you just don't find anything and it's okay?
No, nothing.
Then you have money that you can just spend on whatever.
Nikki,
if you even spend it, maybe you don't spend it.
Will ever be okay again?
Well, I think it could be. What if you just don't wake up on Black Friday? I mean, we got to work, so unfortunately, we will be around all that stuff.
About?
But like, if you don't actively look for things,
not doing that.
Okay,
I'm committed already.
You're committed, but just for next year.
Maybe next year I will.
Back it down a little bit.
I'm kind of committed already, and I go in these waves where I'm like, oh, I really. Well, so like next year, I just need to plan to de-escalate. Okay, that's all I need to do.
No, I think planning is your problem.
No.
Don't plan for anything. Don't plan to de-escalate. Don't plan to escalate.
Nikki, not planning for anything is how I live my life, except for the unimportant things.
Just live. Just live.
All right.
And if you find something, you do. And if you don't, great. Then you have some extra cash for something else.
I mean, Resident Evil 2 comes out in January.
But don't feel pressure. Just live.
Wait, do you think I should save all my money for January?
Is that the new Black Friday?
So like now I save my birthday money for Black Friday and my Black Friday money for January?
Oh, no. Yeah, okay. I see this as just a part of you.
The worst of the riot is over, but the fun can keep going.
Hey, I saw you checking out my goods.
Check the Riot blog or stalk us on social media.
You want to sample them? A little try before you buy, huh?
Through riot.radiou.com.
Boy, I'm on the wrong side of history on this whole squirrel thing.